Hey guys, Chris here. Wanted to go over one of my servers, break down of the hardware, why I chose everything, and the route that I went. As you can see, I've got one of them behind me. That is my backup Unraid server that is basically powered off except for backups or any kind of hardware issues or anything that happens. I can spin it up immediately and move everything over to it. It's already configured fully. All the data is on it. Everything's ready to go. All I have to do is just turn on the Docker containers and I'm good to go. So I thought it would take a moment and kind of go over everything with you. So a couple routes that you can go. I chose to go the ATX case instead of rack mount. And the reason why I went with that, and I will go over a couple things here with you. So rack mount servers, not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I live in a fairly small apartment, so that means that I have a small living space, so noise is pretty important to me. Usually if you have racks, home labs, things of that nature, you can see it kind of stuck in a corner, garage, under the stairs, spare bedroom, whatever the case may be. I don't have that option. My rack is actually in my dining room. I don't have a table at this point. I got rid of it because it was just too big, took up too much space, didn't use it. So I moved my rack over to there. That way I had a dedicated workspace for my desk because I work from home. So went that route. Not saying that rack mount servers are wrong or anything of that nature, but they can be quite loud. Not power as efficient. I wanted a lot of power. I wanted a small footprint, and I wanted a very efficient and very quiet because it's literally in my living room on the other side of the living room. So noise is important to me. Wanted it super quiet. So with that being said, I ended up going with the non-rack mount. Went with the full ATX tower, custom built, Noctua fans everywhere possible, super quiet, super efficient, a lot of power. So you're going to ask what's in the server. So start with the case. I went with the Corsair 760T. I have two of them. I went with two different colors. That way I could make sure that I knew which one was work when I was doing any maintenance or troubleshooting. I will leave links in the descriptions. That way you can go ahead and look at everything. This one is the black version, and it is the Corsair 760 full ATX steel case. This thing is a monster, and it is heavy as hell because I have it completely packed. Giant case. One of the issues that I ran into is trying to find a case that works with a dual CPU socket motherboard, meaning that it has two CPUs in the server motherboard itself. Usually a lot of those are non-ATX. They are actually a super extended ATX motherboard, meaning not a lot of cases will use them, and usually you need something quite large. Well, this fit the bill for me. This thing is huge. It's full steel. Go over a couple things here. So to start with, full ATX power supplies. It will do 6 3.5-inch drives without having to do an additional hard drive cage, which I have purchased. It will do 10 2.5-inch drives. There's actually quite a bit of support for coolers and for cooling, so I'll go over that. The liquid coolers, this thing will go anywhere from an H55 all the way to the H110, which is a dual CPU fan all in one unit. Case dimensions, like I said, this thing is huge. It's 564 millimeters by 246 by 568, so pretty large as you can see. The maximum GPU length is 450 millimeters. Power supply is 240, and the cooler height is 170 millimeters, and it does have 9 expansion slots in it. This thing has capabilities for 2 fans in the front, 2 on the top, and 1 in the back, depending on if you're going with fans or on-one air coolers or what have you. There's actually a lot of room for radiators as well. It will do 120 millimeter, 140, 240, 280, and 360, so a lot of capability here that you can go with. I was pretty impressed. I ended up liking this case so much that I bought 2 of them for both of my servers. So next piece that I would go over is the motherboard. I started with Supermicro, using them. I was using the X9 series, but I ended up having a very large amount of bad luck with them. I went through 4 motherboards with warranties until I finally gave up. The form factor that I ended up going with and the motherboard I went with was from ASRock Rack, and it is the EPC 2C602-4LD16. This motherboard is a monster, and it is packed with a lot of features. So I'll go over that. It is a dual socket 2011 socket motherboard, and it will do anything from the 16 to the 2600/4600 version 1 CPUs or version 2 CPUs. It does have 16 DIMM slots with 512 gig capacity. Currently, I am running, I believe, 112. I ended up having to remove 2 sticks because I had some problems with those slots or bad RAM. I just haven't gone back to fix that issue. It does have 4 PCIe 3 times 16, 1 PCI 3 times 4, and 1 PCI slot. So you do have quite a bit of room for expansion, controller cards, whatever you may have for your configuration. It does have the 8 SATA 2, which is supported by the Intel C602 chipset, and then it will also do 2 at 6 gigs with the Intel C602 chipset as well. It does have 7 USB 2 slots, an I/O on board, and 1 Type A port. And another awesome feature is it does have integrated IPMI, and that is using the Realtek LAN, and then it has 4 of the onboard gig LAN slots for Intel through its chipset. Pretty awesome board. The form factor, do keep in mind, it is SSIEBB, which is essentially, if you were to Google it, a really large extended ATX server motherboard. It will do i7 single slot, or you can go ahead and do the Xeon configuration, depending on what it is that you do need. It does have the Intel C602 chipset. Already went over LAN, and it went over SATA configurations with you. And then I am actually running 2 of the E5 Intel 2620 chipset, CPUs, which is 6-core, 12-thread per CPU. So I'm running 12 cores, 24 threads, quite a bit of power. Back that with 112 gigs of RAM. Actually a lot of power in this system. I'm actually running dual HBAs, and what that basically is it is a controller card that allows me to have multiple hard drives. So it does a breakout cable of 1 SAS connection to 4 SATA connections. So you are able to get 8 hard drives per controller card. I have 2 of them in there, so I can do actually a maximum of 16 hard drives based off of those 2 controller cards, but I actually run out of space. Well, actually not space. I can actually go and get another hard drive cage from Corsair, but you'd have to get that through the website. But what I actually run out of is SATA power connections from the power supply, to put it lightly. I'm actually out of room power-wise than I am more room-wise, so go figure that. Never thought I would run into an issue like that, so kind of interesting that that ends up coming up. And then I am running, if I remember correctly, and I will double check that, I'm running the EVGA 850 watt power supply, fully modular. I ended up going that route because when you have 12 plus hard drives, 10 data drives, 2 pairty drives, and a cache drive that it has everything installed on it, then you start to run into a huge mess of cabling, which I've done the best I can. Basically, I am running 10 data drives, 2 pairty drives, meaning that I can have 2 drives fail before I start to lose data. And then this system back here behind me, that's the backup, Unraid, which everything backs up to on a bi-weekly basis that I have to go through and do. Didn't take the main server down because that's in production and that's actually running a lot of services in my home, so I thought I would take this one and show that to you. And then I do have a Samsung 861 terabyte SSD Evo that I'm running, and that has all of the Dockers that I have installed, which I do have previous videos on that you can go check out in my video list that will go over a lot of what I'm running. And then I also have my virtual machines installed to that as well. Give me just a moment here, and I'll switch over to my phone, and then I can go ahead and give you just a quick rundown and show you the server itself and how I have it set up. So, one sec here. So I'm actually running, as you can see, it was the EVGA 650 watt power supply. This only comes stock with 3 of the cages, which gives you 3 drives apiece, meaning a total of 9. I actually bought this one. You can go and get them from the Corsair website, and you will have to, I believe it was about $35 for one of these. Don't quote me and hold me to that. I don't remember. It was quite a while ago. So I have a total of 12 drives in here, as I stated. And then I am running the LSI HBA 9211s. I do have those in IT mode. You can get them actually flashed in IT mode, and the reason why you want that is if it was in IR mode, that means that it is running more in RAID, and you do not want that because you want the software itself to go ahead and control everything. You do not want to have RAIDs set up where that can cause a lot of issues, because that is done through the software itself. I am running the Noctua, I can't remember exactly which one it was, I will have to look that up, CPUs on here, and the CPU coolers, fan back here, and then I actually replaced these fans with Noctuas as well, so this is extremely quiet case. Basically, you can go ahead and sit next to this. The whole entire rack is probably about as loud as my whole entire gaming PC basically put together. Quite a bit of a mess of cables, obviously, because I have quite a bit of drives. I've done the best that I possibly can, but as you can see, there's a lot of room for configurations here. I actually have 13 drives in this one because I started to run out of space, and I do have an optical drive set up, but not actually plugged in case I ever do need it. A little dirty, as you can see, because it's been running for quite a long time. I'll kind of go around it. That will show you what you are looking at. This actually has the ability to open on both sides, and actually has, this side is solid, but the other side is an acrylic window. As you can see, quite a spaghetti of cables. It's kind of hard to manage all that when you have 13 drives in your server, so good luck with that when you have that many drives on making it look pretty. I've also done a lot of upgrades. But really awesome case. I can't praise it enough. I've been extremely happy with it. It's been a really awesome case for me. Future plans that I have with this is I'm probably going to take my EVGA 1070 video card on my gaming PC and put it in here. That way I can go ahead and build a Windows 10 gaming VM and share my video card with that, so I can use this server to actually play games on PCs that don't have the power, using like a Steam Link or something of that nature, which I also do have. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to finish up this video. So as you can see, pretty awesome build. I do have other videos actually on my channel to go over my YouTube server, to go over my Unraid server and everything that I am configuring. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Go ahead and definitely click that follow button and subscribe and check out my social media. Have a great day, guys.